Hi, Gary. I'm Jeff Fromm. I'm a five-time author, a senior advisor at Tickets for Less, and really excited to visit with you, a fellow author, on employee engagement, employee loyalty, things like that. If you wanted to do a quick intro, that'd be great, and then we can get into the interview.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jeff. It's a pleasure being with you today. Gary Beckstrand, I'm the Vice President of the O.C. Tanner Institute, which is part of the O.C. Tanner Company. The easiest way to think about the Institute, it is the research, measurement, and education arm of the company. So we spend a lot of resources on understanding the marketplace around workplace culture. We use that information to inform the market, our own internal messaging, product and services development, as well as we work with a lot of clients to measure impact over time. And then we have an education arm to really help disseminate that information and share what we learn through our research.
That's great. Well, again, thank you for joining. As we maybe just start with some of the key things you've learned through research about what engages employees, what motivates employees. The topic's obviously super important to executives because most brands have the ability to grow or lose market share based on how much employee engagement there is, right? Like, because I don't know the CEO of Starbucks, I know my barista when I drive through, and if they're having a bad day, my day's not so good.
Yeah, for sure. And what we're seeing right now, and our latest research indicates that employees around the world are seeking meaningful connections and this sense of belonging, if you will. They want to understand that their work is having purpose, that they're making a difference. Simply put, they want to be part of a community. And that's a real important topic right now, is this notion of what organizations can do to reconnect with their people and create those work environments where they want to join, stay, and do their best work, or the barista shows up, as you mentioned, right? Ready to go to provide that service that we've all become accustomed to at Starbucks, for example. And so community is really an important key. It's different than culture. Culture is that social operating system that defines kind of how we interact and work together. But it's community that is unifying. It brings us, holds us together as we work towards common goals. And that's going to be a real important thing for companies to continue to focus on, because when employees work in a strong community, I think our stat indicates that we see an 8 times increase in a sense of belonging. And it's that sense of belonging that leads to increases in retention, intent to stay or estimated tenure, and reduced burnout and anxiety as well. So community is a real important piece.
Yeah, and if you think about that, any company that has higher employee, longevity is going to have lower cost of acquiring new employees, training those new employees, any impact to net promoter score as a result of new employees not understanding, service delivery, things like that. So tell me, is there something in your research that we should understand related to community, sort of what defined that before we had COVID, and now, like, what are the new rules of the road for community?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think everything we learned through COVID, we probably knew going in, but we didn't realize how important certain things are and have since become in terms of priorities. So, coming off this period of isolation and kind of detachment, if you will, or disconnection, for the first time ever, typically when employees choose to leave their jobs, it's primarily because they found something better, or they're dissatisfied, or whatever. They're not necessarily engaged. But this time around, it's different. Highly engaged employees are choosing to leave. And I think our research sheds a little bit of light on what that employee sentiment is and why. Part of it is they want to be part of community, but at the end of the day, employees, when they describe their employee experience around the world, the common factor is they're looking for a more fulfilling experience at work. And fulfillment is made up of 4 areas. And I think, Jeff, we're going to see a movement from traditional measures like engagement and satisfaction and other things that we focused on to this concept of fulfillment. There's something deeper there in terms of what people are really looking for, that mutual benefit and opportunity. So really it's made up of 4 areas: community, and we just talked about that. They want to belong. They want to know that their work is making a difference and feel that connection. The second is growth. And that's not a new concept, but as much as needing or looking for opportunities for advancement, they're really looking for opportunities to demonstrate mastery and competency in their existing roles. And when they demonstrate that, for that to be called out and acknowledged. The third area is purpose. That's not new either. This sense of, but it's not just the overall organization's social good or large purpose. That's part of it, but it's what is most important at the team level or the department, or take it out to the company of how am I contributing and adding to that success? How's my story part of that success story, and do I feel connected to it? And the last one is balance. And we could spend the whole time on that, right?
Sure.
Additionally, that's been work-life balance, but employees don't make that distinction anymore. When work gets done, how it gets done, where it gets done is so fluid that work is life and life is work. And this notion of autonomy, flexibility, I heard the phrase the other day, and I believe it, flexibility is the new currency, right? That's become extremely important. And that's going to be a challenge for companies to figure out how to navigate that and move forward. But again, the fundamental principles of what employees are looking for are the same. They want to feel connected. They want to feel part of something. And organizations that are out in front of some of those issues are going to be more successful, I think.
So I love your term, flexibility is a new currency. I might have to write that down and use it as my own at some point.
Yeah,
all right.
Please do. It's great. I've been using it as my own, and I didn't originate it, Jeff. So
I'm teasing. So when I did my first research with Boston Consulting Group, we looked at millennial consumers, and what we found was two 27-year-old women were remarkably different based on presence of child in the household, not birth years. And so it wasn't age driven, and it wasn't even marital status. And I wonder, as we maybe dive into the topic a little bit around employee recognition specifically, are there certain things that really separate companies that are good at employee recognition from companies that are like great at employee recognition?
Yeah, I think a couple of things stand out. First of all, I think intuitively we all understand that when we acknowledge the work people do, that's a good thing. And that creates connection to some degree. But the thing that makes it really stand out is that when it's done, it's meaningful and purposeful. And I think those are two important characteristics. Meaningful to the recipient, right? It's personalized. We're specific. Here's what you did. And more importantly, not just what you did that led to success, but how you uniquely contributed. What it is about you, Jeff, that you bring that's unique, that really made a difference to help us with this outcome. And then the second piece is purposeful. It's an opportunity to effectively communicate to employees that they're making a difference that's important to the organization or to the team or the department. It's that reconnection back to purpose. If you think about fulfillment, I think that's an interesting model to think about those four areas when we're calling and recognizing what people are doing and how they're making a difference. Are we reminding them that they're important to us, that they're part of our community, that things would be different if they were missing, right? They just don't feel like, oh, I'm replaceable. Are we calling out their mastery, the things that they do well? That's a natural one. Are we connecting it, as I mentioned, to purpose? And then an interesting thing, and I think this will be different moving forward. Traditionally, we've recognized things like working late or killing yourself to hit the deadline. That's not inappropriate, but in this notion of flexibility and balance, we're going to start to recognize people for making things happen without sacrificing balance, right? And reinforcing. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a shift when it comes to recognition. The other thing I'll mention, it has to be integrated into the everyday employee experience. Recognition can't just be another thing that we do, another program that we put in place. We need to understand, no, this reinforces everything we're trying to accomplish, and at the human level really connects with people to demonstrate how they're making a difference. So it has to be seen, given, observed throughout their organization on a frequent basis. It needs to be given by peers and leaders to reinforce small and large accomplishments in really meaningful and personalized ways. And again, I could talk a lot about recognition. It's not the end all. It's not the right, but it is underutilized in terms of strategic connection that really reinforces a lot of the major people initiatives that we're working on in terms of inclusion, all sorts of things to really help people feel like they're connected and belong. So anyway, it's going to be fun to kind of see how we start to shift and how we start to leverage recognition to help us, again, accomplish these broader value-based organizational efforts, but looking at it from the employee's perspective, not organization-centric mindset. And too often we tend to do that, but really understand what's most meaningful to our people.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Gary, I'm grateful for you taking the time to support me and the effort to understand what motivates people at work and how to recognize and reward behavior. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. And I think that's about it. I'm Jeff Fromm, Gary Beckstrand. Appreciate your expertise and your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure.